This time on Rad Rat Video, we're talking about a few of your questions, including, does skateboarding have personality anymore? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Ask Rad Rat, a series where I answer all of your questions that are submitted through my website, radratvideo.com. Got a handful of them for you today. First one is from Graydon. He says, could you please answer the question, why is graffiti associated with skateboarding? Also, I have one of your shirts. They're rad. Wear it every time I skateboard. Thank you. So skateboarding and graffiti are both, they're kind of similar. If you break them down to their ingredients, they're kind of similar. So skateboarding is artistic, right? You pick out your tricks, you pick out the spot, you got your own style, you do things in a certain way, you express yourself through the way that you skate. Graffiti is literally art. You're just drawing stuff. And also in skateboarding, in street skating especially, you're hopping fences, you're going places where you're not supposed to be, you're trespassing, you're doing sketchy stuff so that you can do your art in a place where no one wants you to do it. So if you just kind of switch around the balance slightly, you take out the athletic aspect, crank up the raw, like fine art level a little bit, and it's kind of the same thing. So I think when I was in high school, all the skaters I knew were into art somehow. Either they would draw, they would at least, decorate their grip tape, cut out certain ways, draw on it with paint markers. Like everyone who skates that I knew was somewhat artistic in a way. And so like skateboarding and graffiti are kind of in a similar vein. So that's probably why you see that. Next question is from Shane. What ramp in skateboarding do you think is easiest to build in terms of effort, cost of materials, and tools? I have built quite a few things in my day. I built a half pipe, actually. A small one, a mini ramp, but I built that. I built a kicker, I'll tell you about that in a second, and I built a couple different boxes and things like that. If a box counts as a ramp in your definition, then that's probably the easiest. You can get like a 2x8. This isn't going to be a tall box, maybe more of a manual pad or whatever, but you can get a 2x8, make a frame, do a couple more down the middle, one sheet of plywood, screw it down on top, by some coping of some kind, either like what I used was round, like a metal pole, drill holes through it, you countersink the hole so there's no metal burrs sticking out to rip you up, and then drill it down onto the 2x8. And yeah, it's going to be pretty small. It's not, but it'll get the job done. That's simple, easy thing to build. If you go a lot taller, you got to do, like walls out of plywood on the sides, and you got to build legs and stuff. A little bit more complicated, but it's still really not that bad. If a ramp is literally a ramp of some kind, probably a flat bank would be the best thing to build. A friend in school had one that he had built, which was pretty cool. So you can build that without too much trouble. Once you get into transition, that's where it gets tough. You have to actually bend the wood, and you don't just get one sheet of plywood, like a 3/4 inch plywood. You get 2 sheets of 3/8, and then you have to, because it'll bend without cracking as easily. So you might have to hose it down so it's wet, and then sit on it, and then like screw it in, and like slowly work your way up. That's a little bit tougher, but with a bank, you don't have to worry about that. You just kind of make a triangle. So that's not so bad. Although my kicker story shows that there is a little bit more into it than that. So I tried to make, I think technically a kicker has to have transition to it. This was just like a wedge ramp, And so I made this, I had this spare plywood. I cut it like this diagonally so that it made 2 triangles, and then put some plywood up it, put some support 2x4s in there, and that was good to go. So the first time I tried to actually skate up this thing, I go up it, wasn't nearly this big, but I got up to the top, and then it flipped, and I landed with my back right on the sharp edge of it, because I didn't plan it out right. You can't just make a triangle. You have to make it go up. I mean, it's still a triangle, but it doesn't go straight down. It goes up and then kind of comes out, so that there's more of a base, so that the ramp doesn't flip on you. So try to find some plans online. Maybe there used to be sites that had all that stuff. I don't know if there's any anymore, but you can try to find some plans, or go to a skate park and take your tape measure and try to figure out how they did it. But yeah, just experimenting with ramps can get you in some trouble. You'll tend to make stuff steeper than you should too. But anyway, good luck with your ramp building endeavors. The next thing is not really a question. It's from Bob, who describes himself as an industry guy, and he wanted to talk about speed rings, like the little washers on both sides of your wheel. I think I talked about it in a video. He wanted to clear some stuff up. I'll just read what he has to say. He says, speed rings have nothing to do with the speed and everything to do with safety. In the event that an outside wheel bearing seizes, the bearing can grip the axle nut and spin it off, causing your wheel to come off. The speed ring acts as an extra layer of protection. The locked up bearing would need to grip the speed ring, and the speed ring would need to grip the axle nut in order for the wheel to come off. As skaters don't really care about this fraction of a fraction safety measure, people would not use them, so they get called speed rings, because everyone wants to go faster. If all skate trucks were made perfectly, you would not need speed rings on the inside of the wheel where the bearing interacts with the hanger end. But skate trucks are not perfect at all, and making a perfectly smooth and flat hanger end is difficult. It's best to make sure that the only part of the bearing that touches the hanger end is the inner race of the bearing. If QC is slipping or a less than ideal batch comes in, a different part of the bearing or wheel could rub on the hanger end, no bueno. A speed ring gives the manufacturer some wiggle room on the precision of the hanger end and makes the whole thing a non-issue, as a 1 millimeter defect in the hanger end is sure to be failed during the QC process anyway. These speed rings cost nothing. $20 could get you 100,000 of them from Asia. It's simply cheaper to put speed rings on everything than fail any parts in the QC process. So that was pretty interesting. I didn't know any of that stuff. I thought it was to help the bearings. I mean, it's to make sure your nut doesn't come off on the outside and to not cause any friction on the inside. Kind of interesting. It could technically make you go a little faster on the inside, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, that's not the point of it. It's interesting that he says that they call them speed rings just to make sure people use them. But anyway, yeah, not a question, but I still thought that would be good for you guys to hear. The next question is from Chris. He says, what would be considered a crazy flat ground only line? No ramps, no rails, nothing but flat. Would it be worth doing, or would it be written off without obstacles? A lot of the lines I've seen feel like, except for a trick or two, the rest of the line is safety tricks. So yeah, like if you're going to do these stairs and then those stairs, you do something in the middle, but it's always going to be something basic. It's going to be a 360 flip. It's going to be a nollie flip. It's going to be something simple. Like, where is a pro line where they're doing something crazy? And that doesn't really happen. Like Chris Haslam would post stuff every now and then where he'd be doing 540 laser flip, landing a pivot, or like something crazy, but it's not professional. Like, it's not considered a legit video part level trick to just do stuff on flat. And that's been that way for a long time, ever since freestyle died out in the late 80s. But I do think that you could pull something off like this. So if you watch the Global Game of Skate hosted by Johnny Geiger, you've seen some ridiculous stuff on there, like a 720 big spin triple kickflip, or like hard flip late shove it, nollie varial heel underflip, all kinds of really crazy stuff. And if there was a pro level part and it was like gaps and handrails and stuff, and then there was a line with a few tricks like that, I still think that would get a lot of respect. Like, I think it's about not relying on doing only flat. If you're the guy who skates nothing but flat, then you don't get as much respect as a street skater. But if you were doing a lot of legit ledge tricks and all that type of stuff, and then you just had one line of ridiculous flat ground, I still think that would be pretty cool. I mean, I would definitely like it. That's the kind of stuff I'm into. I love that super tech stuff. It's definitely possible, but as video parts become less of a thing and it's more just Instagram clips, people don't care as much about making sure the clip is filmable, like a legit thing. So I don't know. This is probably going to be a non-issue before too much time. Last question is from Jordan Barnes. Are skate videos becoming more impersonal? Does personality matter as much in a professional skateboarder? Videos like Baker 3 go into the personal lives of skaters with small clips of their day-to-day life, and I feel like it's a rarity to see that these days. I feel like I'm watching sports reels over half the time I watch a new video. So someone else also wrote in, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they're asking about how long lines don't seem to be a thing in skateboarding, like in video parts anymore either. And then it might be an attention span thing. So I'll give you a little behind the scenes YouTube knowledge. When I first started my channel, I was doing a lot of research on watch time and keeping people engaged and all that type of stuff. And one of the big things I found was there was a science channel, and they did experiments and stuff. So there was one where they built something and then it exploded. And so it was like a 15-minute video of them designing the thing. I don't remember what it was specifically, of them designing this thing, and then like some test experiments that failed leading up to it, and then finally the thing where they blew it up, or they launched the thing that blew up, like it was a trebuchet or something like that. And so the 15-minute video was really good, well produced. You know, lots of people liked it, but it had thousands of views. And the coach, the YouTube coach, was like, hey, make a 1-minute version of this. Just show the exciting part and post that separately. And that exploded, went viral, you know, millions of views instead of thousands. And that says a lot about how attention spans are as far as the way we consume content now. So if I was watching a clip, and I'll do this, like I'll be scrolling through on Instagram, and like here's a guy doing a crazy trick. I scroll up, here's a guy like chugging a beer, and then like you see a skateboarder, you know he's gonna do something. He gets on it, and then it cuts to like his friend, and I'm just keep going. You know, it's so easy to just move to something else, especially with skateboarding. Like there's 35 years of skate videos easily available at your fingertips on YouTube or on your phone anywhere. You can watch anything you want. For you to actually spend your time watching this one thing, it's got to grab you immediately. It's got to be good. So yeah, like doing that day in the life stuff, or having those really long lines like the other guy was talking about, that doesn't grab you as much. It's a lot easier to keep attention with hammers, just hard hitting, trick, 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 out, and that's it. You don't make a 5-minute thing and post it on. No, you just show a couple tricks. Next day you'll post a couple more. And that's just kind of the way that it works now. And so I think that this is going to have a lot of implications on video parts in general. Like I think it's going to be more important in the near future to be more consistent. So, you know, consistency as opposed to being able to film a really good trick. So you're not spending days trying to land this one insane trick that's going to go in a video once every couple years. When you're in a video, you're posting stuff every day. So if you can go out and do a slightly new version of that thing you did last time, now it's a big spin out instead of just a shove it out, or you know, something along those lines. If you can keep doing new things consistently, that'll be more important than being able to do a crazy hammer every now and then. So I think that this is going to affect not just parts in general, but how skateboarding progresses. Like the next huge skateboarder, the next huge name might not be able to do the craziest tricks, but he can just keep posting stuff consistently and it's all good. It's like an 8 out of 10 every single day as opposed to a 10 out of 10 once every couple years. So I don't know. I think that's going to have a lot of effect on how skateboarding exists, how it develops, and we're just going to have to tune in and see how that all turns out. So those are my answers to today's questions. If you have one of your own, go to radratvideo.com and you can submit it on the homepage there. I'll take a look at those. If you support me on Patreon, you can submit your question on the thread that's right there in the members area. And I will definitely answer that either on video or in a message if it's not suitable for talking about on camera. But that's how you can submit your questions. If you don't want to, just make sure you subscribe anyway so that you can watch the next video that comes up. Also, here are some videos YouTube recommends that you might want to check out. So look at those as well. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.